Hi besties, welcome to or welcome back to the channel if you guys are seeing my face for the first time. Hi, my name is Maya and I like to talk about books on the internet. It is day 4 of Bookmas. Y'all, we made it. Okay, also, forgive the voice. I have been talking a lot, filming double sometimes, stuff on a day. The voice is gone. Also, last night, I happened to have a call with my sister that lasted quite a few hours. So my voice is shot, but that's not what y'all are here for, right? Y'all are here for my favorite books of this year. Listen, I got my coffee right here in my little Wicked cup. By the way, I did see Wicked, the movie. It was great. I had a lot of thoughts. If you guys want to know those thoughts, you can go to my vlog channel, lifestyle channel, second channel. I don't know. Is this my main channel? I don't know. You can go to that channel. I'll leave it linked down below. But I have been talking about Wicked. Okay, I've been talking about the drama and the gossip, but I talked about my personal experience first because I'm like, I'm not really here for all that drama. But there were a few things that came across my feed where I was kind of just like, this is a thing that people are talking about? Okay. I mean, heck, let's go for it. Let's talk about it because, you know, there are some, you know, more to discuss on certain points, and I kind of like it. I'm kind of here for it because it's like, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of like not just like surface level drama and gossip and all of that, which, you know, sometimes we're a little entertained by, not gonna lie, but it was like deeper in the way of just like, well, hang on though, but there is actual valid reasons for why we can say these statements of just like why this was so good or why this was so bad or yada yada yada. And I'm just kind of just like here for the conversation because it's like, it is talking about the art now. All of that to say, I really like Wicked and I have been talking about it recently. If you guys want to watch, feel free to do so. But I actually got this cup. That's what I was circling back to. I got this cup when I went to Broadway in New York with my mother. It's kind of like a secondary part of my senior trip to go to the places that we didn't go to then. And we saw Wicked twice. My choosing, of course. And then got some souvenir cups. Feel free to get your beverage of choice and let's dive into these books finally, right? Now let's officially get into the video. Yeah, I really don't know how to order these. In no particular order, in no particular placeholder, yet we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Y'all, I had such a great experience with this book. I reread it, and then I watched the thing on Netflix. I watched it. And it was so good. Now listen, I was a little upset. I was a little tiny bit upset that they did not put in one of my favorite sassy characters. Now, because I had just recently taken a course of book to film adaptation, I was appreciative of the decisions and I liked what they did with what they had. I still was a little, but you still could have added her. They could have, but they chose not to. And you know what? I can kind of understand that. There were a lot of moving pieces in this book that you just can't really contain it, honestly. But this book is following Alex Claremont Diaz, the son of the first female president, and he causes a scandal when he is like the figurehead that is attending a wedding, a British wedding, and he pushes the person who is getting married's brother into the wedding cake. That, by the way, could pay so many months worth of rent. For me, I kind of died a little on the inside. They were just like, oh, that's no big deal. It's just the cake. Well, apparently it was a big enough deal to cause an international scandal. So, yeah, apparently it was a big deal. But, you know, anyway, so crashes into the cake, gets the scandal started, and now he has to do some PR cleanup.
You can hate Prince Henry all you want, but the minute you see a camera, you better act like the sun shines out of his ass and you have a vitamin D deficiency.
They have to get along, right? They have to, or at least look like they get along. They have to be friendly. They have to attend events together. They have to go do certain things out in the public together and get a photo op every single time. They have their own photographers that are there and ready to do that. So, I mean, if that ain't a look into royal and political life, I don't know what else is. And you follow along on their story, and they go from enemies to lovers. And then everything just kind of blows up in their faces when their emails get leaked by none other than good old Raphael, a trusted family friend. And wow, all hell breaks loose, basically. They have to decide, is their love worth it? Read the book to find out. But like, it's a famous book. It's a TikTok favorite. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have already read this book, but to those of you who have not, I'm not going to be spoiling it, okay? What I love about this book is that even though this is kind of like romance contemporary, there is such a deep conversation. I love that about books. I love when there's deeper stuff and a lot of substance. You can tell that this author has sat with her characters, has sat with this world, and has a message that she is trying to convey through the characters. And what I love about this is that the message that is being conveyed through the characters, it's not the author preaching through a character, it is the character preaching because of their morals and their values. And I love that. Now listen, we don't have to agree on every single thing, right? But you can tell that it comes from the character, not from the author. Now the author may hold the same opinion and, you know, it just happens to come throughout that character. But there are times, truly, where an author may write something that is not their moral or ethical baseline for the sake of the character, because that is what they would say, to have that conversation, to start a conversation, to start that with maybe another character as well. And you see that in between these two characters. And what I love is that they're not on opposing sides of a conversation. They're just on very different sides of a conversation that the other didn't really think about before, because how could they? They both kind of grew up with different mindsets on the same thing. One was thrust into the spotlight, the other was in its sense birth, not to mention has how he puts it in the movie.
I can't afford to be reckless. I have centuries of history bearing down on my shoulders.
And not by choice. He didn't choose that. Heck, royalty doesn't choose to be born into royalty. Now what they do with it is their choice, right? But the circumstances around that is not their choice. You know, and that's a great conversation for just anyone in general, right? You don't choose the environment you're born into, but you do choose the environment that you choose to stay in adulthood. Because at that point, you have learned, you know the necessary steps to get to certain places. Now, it may not be your choice to have certain things happen, but how you react to those choices is what gets you to maybe a little closer to where you want to be, or to a different spot than where you were, or something like that. So, you know, there is a level of responsibility as you are growing and developing. That's a conversation that was in here. That was probably one of the main ones. But then there were other conversations as well that, I mean, just riddled throughout. I mean, the reason I was a little sad, kind of, when I saw the movie, was I noticed that his sister B was younger, not older. And the reason I was kind of sad about that, and I knew that they were going to take it a different direction with her, was because B had such a good story. Okay, she came out of addiction because of mourning and grief of her dad. Philip became this perfect figurehead for the grandmother through his mourning and grief. Henry became closeted and just like terrified, but had to put on a smile, had to be this PR's like heavenly angel sent figure through the grief of his father. And mourning of that, Catherine, the mom, totally absent, abandons her children basically and feeds them to the wolves. That is the grandmother, who is all about traditional royalty and everything, and truly is so arrogant to think that it meant anything in this world nowadays. Like thinking that, you know, it goes back to centuries versus more modern day. Now, don't get me wrong. Does royalty have a place in this world? Sure, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention in history, but royalty, you know, was a thing, and it was more powerful. It was more a way of life, basically, than it is now. Now we have more like parliamentary types of governments, and like obviously like our government in the US, and you know, cabinets and things, just groups of people instead of the one head, to kind of like limit the fact that, oh, you could get a little power hungry, ego trippy, you know, you could become a dictator. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? That word? I don't know. We'll find out. So that was those conversations. And then like with June, I'm really sad that they didn't put her in here, because June had such a poignant moment of conversation with her mom, and just like saying, I want to do this, but because of your position, I have had to constantly fight and fight and fight and be told no, simply because I am your daughter. They will not allow me to be a journalist because they think I am biased, because they think I don't know what that life is like. And I'm just like, oh, you poor baby. And she has the talent for it. And she finally gets an opportunity, and it's swayed by whatever Ellen is thinking about for her children. And while Ellen is a very kind, compassionate, uplifting of her children's ambitions mother, it got put to the back seat when she became president, because she had that ambition for so long, and now she has it and she wants it, and she kind of doesn't see her kids for a little minute. If you could not tell, I like this book. For the conversations. So there were some things about the movie where I was just like, oh, I wish they had that. But I get where it was coming from. And I know I'm talking in comparison to the movie as much as I'm talking about this book, but I genuinely think that both of them kind of stand together with this world. Like that, it was this world in literature, this world come to life on screen, and it was beautiful, and overall beautiful products. And quite frankly, I just kind of have so many things going on in my head about both of the things that I need to kind of just shout out the movie too, because there was this one line in the movie that Henry said, I will insert it here, I don't care about copyright at this point. Here it is.
My life is the crown, and yours is politics, and I will not trade one prison for another.
Is that not like powerful to you? You don't truly feel the weight of it until like you truly feel the weight of it. Now, I felt the weight of it in this book, but we're following Alex's point of view in here. And with the movie, we were able to see more of Henry. And Nicholas, you are an amazing, fantastic actor. You were the right choice. You did Henry justice. Let's just say that, because he was able to convey the emotions that you could kind of tell within the book. You know, we got so much of Alex in here, and I love that. I truly do. I am just so grateful we also have that to kind of give us Henry's, because I don't know, I feel like whoever was writing for that movie kind of knew a little bit about this book, not gonna lie, and I like that, because not every time, you know, something gets transferred from a book to a movie or to screen of any kind, or theater or whatever, it doesn't always hit the exact same, right? Because they don't always know the world. They kind of just know, oh, this is doing well, here, make a product. Not their fault that they have to make the product. They're just kind of like, okay, they do the best they can with it. But like, when someone knows about the product, right, you get a good product. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Next up, The Tarot Cafe by Sang Soon Park. This is a manga, and This is the first book in a series, and now I am going to buy the other books. We are following our main character, Pamela, who owns the Tarot Cafe, and she services more than just good tasting beverages, okay? She services elite clientele who come to her because she is clairvoyant. She does tarot readings for them, and she has some interesting clientele, let me tell you. In fact, most of the time, her tarot readings are not to advise them on the next steps. It is showing her the steps that they have taken and then what will happen after that. In some cases, in other cases, people are coming to her for the next steps. And then in other cases, they're coming to her because they don't know where else to go or what else to do. And in this particular book, we're following along with 3 clientele and their stories. The imagery is just beyond. It was so interesting because we don't really get much by way of our main character, who we're technically following throughout this entire thing, but that is just fine. And then we end, and we still don't know that much about her. We still don't really know why she's here, what she's doing, what her objective is, because, okay, listen, on the back of the book, it tells us that she is trying to get to another life, basically, but she has to face the problems in this one or the problems in her past ones, and we're not really getting any sort of anything about her in this book. So, I'm kind of wondering how these clientele and how she's helping them is going to help her. Not that she needs anything from them or that she's like that, but I feel like the reason that we have this setup is because it's important to whatever it is that she is now going to have to do in order to get into this next life that she wants. I highly recommend this book. Honestly, this is just my favorite because I just read it so quickly. I didn't put it down. I had so many thoughts, so many expressions. It's a great book. Do recommend. In fact, did recommend to one of my friends who is into manga, and I don't know, looked like he would check it out. Now we're starting to get a little bit more of a ranking system here. Circe by Madeline Miller. We're following along Circe as we watch her go from, well, actually from birth to the end, basically, if there is an end, because she is a minor goddess. Now, she has a disliking for the gods and their way of thinking, and she has a disliking for humans and their way of thinking. However, the lesser of 2 evils do be the humans, and she has an interaction with the human. It does not end well for her in the long run, and she learns about a power that she has because of this interaction, and she is also banished to an island because Zeus cannot stand the idea of anyone being powerful or having anything to do with anything that could be more powerful than him, hence Achilles. I got a lot to say on Zeus, okay? I don't like him. I don't. Hera, you could have done so much better. You really could have. I get it. Powerful and above all the other gods. I get it. Listen, you could have cut him down and just had someone else as your king. Okay, all right. So my thoughts on that. Like I said, she's abandoned on this island, her own little island, and soon she starts getting visitor upon visitor upon visitor. Basically, naiads who are misbehaving and whose fathers want them to behave. They think Circe has a way with these girls because she makes them work and she doesn't care about their feelings of whether or not they want to or not. In that instance, like, she cares, but she doesn't care at the same time. Interesting. And then they start getting human visitors, and we start getting famous names coming into it. A few of them being Odysseus. She then is later allowed to leave to help her sister, so we get to meet the Minotaur. We also get to meet Daedalus and Icarus. Yeah, we got some pretty big names here. And also, we get the name Scylla, which, if you don't know, is a monster that eats men's ships and men on those ships. Yeah, we get all of that in this book and more. I'm being intentionally vague because there are a lot of things that happen in this book, and if I speak too much on them, I will be doing spoilers. But something I have come to find out about this book just very recently, actually, because of a tag, no less, is the real reason why I love this book and why this book resonates with me so much. And that is because we are getting the possibly best view on an ancient world's ideology and kind of theology through the eyes of someone who does not agree. And what's great about this is that at the time, right, it was harder to be a woman. Like, you were valued for your beauty. You were valued if you could outsmart men and be strategic with your position, but honestly, you couldn't really do much even with your position of power, even with your beauty. You could manipulate, but that's about where it ends, right? With Cersei, we kind of get a different take on it. She didn't fall trap into that mindset, and so as she is like kind of butting heads against everyone, and then she comes face to face with the humans who have a similar ideology, a little bit kinder, which is interesting because, you know, in the world that we're talking about, it was real to people, okay? Greek myth, or what we deem as myth now, was very much a religion in those days. Now, were all of their heroes and their heroes' names and stories, were all of them real? No, but there were certain things about their ideology of the gods that turned into theology, because ideology and theology are very much connected. It's just so fascinating that their theology kind of turned into a harsher version of their ideology and what they believed was important at the time, and what they deemed important, and what they deemed would give favor unto them from their gods that they thought up. And how much they believed in that, and how much their actions reflected that, and in turn, how much their actions affected the reality and course of history. So we're kind of seeing both sides and different viewpoints. Like, we're coming from the beings that are being worshipped to the beings that are giving worship, and Cersei in the middle saying, both of y'all are stupid. That doesn't sound right. But she knows no difference, so she's learning and building her own ideology separate from both sides, right? But with the knowledge of both sides, with an empathy towards humans, even from a very young age, more than likely because she was a minor goddess, and more than likely because she was so brushed to the side, she has an empathy for these people, so she's able to see both sides, and she's able to, what is the best word? She is able to navigate, that's a good word, navigate the harshness, jadedness, and complete apathy of the gods, and the complete jadedness, harsh around the edges, power-hungry human beings, mostly males. And she is a female in these worlds that don't necessarily put a similar value on women as the men, unless they have power or beauty. And that could be seen through the story of Skyla and how Skyla came to be. It was actually quite sad. You feel a lot of empathy for Skyla because she was once a naiad and living in the courts of a sea god, and then when she turned into the hideous monster that she became, and people were talking about it, and Cersei was hearing these conversations, she grasped the knowledge of the fact that in this world, naiads say the only worth that you have is your outward appearance. And in today's society, we're all thinking, what is this? But this was like the modern start to a shift, right? Cersei is kind of showing us the modern shift of, wait a minute, there is more to a woman than beauty. There is more to a man than war and prowess, okay? Because let's be real, all right? Both equally, male and female, were so warped at the time into things that they thought they should be, when in reality, a man can be gentle and empathetic and still also have prowess and power and strategy and can value that. Best example, Patroclus, right? You know, he was about healing in some versions. He was about healing. That was not valued in a man. As a man in that time, he was not valued. Cersei was strong and capable, very much independent, and could get things done her way without having to bat her eyelashes and flip her hair, okay? That was not something that was normal at the time. So these two figures, which by the way, Madeline Miller does have a book, The Song of Achilles, which is one of my favorite books, okay? Oh, is that why? Wow, that's interesting. And I love that I made that comparison and I didn't really even think about it like that, because we also get introduced to Odysseus, who arguably one of the best strategists of that time, and even he kind of had to fight for his way and be like, no, I have to constantly be after the next battle in order to have any prominence, right? So even though he had the blessing of Athena, the goddess of war and strategy, right? Yeah. So there is so much conversation. Wow, I didn't think I was going to go this deep on that. But there is so much good, rich, in-depth conversations within this book. So yeah, I mean, like, modern day us is like, wow, this is very baby ideology in comparison to where we are now. Yes, but this is where the conversation starts, right? I mean, not where it actually started, okay? There's probably differences in history and all of that, but if we are having books where characters are noticing the shifts and are different from their world because of their mindset, that was the type of mindset that started the train for more and more people to kind of sit with it and be okay with the idea that, you know, men don't have to be this way, women don't have to be this way. We can coexist with very similar feelings and thoughts and emotions and all of these different things, and that is okay. It's not a slight on being a man. It's not a slight on being a woman. It is just simply getting out of the boxes that we have put ourselves in, just because, you know, there is a lot of nuance in this world. There's almost like, it feels like there's no set exact definition. Now, there are absolute truths, but there are things where it feels like we don't have a set absolute anything about certain things, about very nuanced things. So we kind of put it all in a box that we can compartmentalize in and kind of have any sort of understanding in. And then we meet something that is very similar, but very outside of that ideology, but is technically, you know, stuff that we also think, and then we're just like mind blown, and then we get a new reconstruction of the boxes, right? So it's just very interesting. It's very fascinating. And I say all of this to say, because this whole thought process of my love for this book and the fact that we get that perspective from a minor goddess as she's learning about these things, and it's her perspective, her take on the world as a whole. It's from her. It's not from the author. I mean, it is from the author because the author wrote it, but it is from the character, and it is believable that it is from the character, much like Red, White, and Royal Blue, right? From the characters themselves and their beliefs and their ideologies to start the conversations, and it's just so cool. It's so powerful. It's so brilliant. It's so chef's kiss. These last two books are like my top tier. Oh, I'm gonna give you guys the image. Yes, the continuation of the Truly Devious series, The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna say them both at the same time because they have very similar things right. The Last Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Okay, so they're both up here for the very same reasons, but let me tell you guys a little bit about the Truly Devious series. The Truly Devious series, we're following our main character, Stevie Bell, okay? And she is a amateur detective, professional detective in the making. She is very invested in this one particular case called the Ellingham case. And the Ellingham case and her involvement of it with it, yes, spans over the course of 3 books. Okay, so she knows this case inside out, upside down, left, right, turn it all around. You get it, she knows it. So she goes to the school because Ellingham Academy is now open to the public. She goes to the school with a very big intention of solving this cold case. Now, I won't tell you if she solved it or not, but it spans over 3 books. So you take your best guess, judgment guess, if you will. Alrighty. So now that is done, school year closed, it's summertime, and she is just, you know, working at a deli, fantasizing, intrusive thought fantasizing of potentially putting people through meat grinders. She's working, doing her thing, texting her boyfriend, and suddenly she gets a letter from this person that is like, hey, you want to be a counselor at my camp, or quote unquote counselor at my camp, because there's this case I want y'all to solve. Y'all being her and her entourage, of course. She's like, absolutely. So she tells her mom, oh, it's just a camp counselor job. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be getting me outdoors, and it's gonna look good on my resume, and yada, 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 whatever she thinks her parents seem important at the time. So she goes to camp. She meets up with her gang, and they get the rundown of this case. And she knows nothing about this case. So us as the reader and her, we're kind of here. We're kind of on the same page. But also, we kind of know a little bit more because the style of writing is very much the same. And I love it, which is why I love this book too. Style of writing gives us the dates, the times, the information, and then we get into the story as the story is unfolding, and then we get the like backstory of it all, and then we get back into the present. It's so great. I love it. So anyways, this guy happens to be the biggest opportunist, the worst type of opportunist, let me tell you. It's not even that he's an opportunist, it's that he's being opportunistic about a person's death. How dare you, sir? Well, not even just one person, 4 people. Not that that makes a difference. How dare you? And there is so much in the way of true crime within the first 3 books of the series that was at Ellingham that really like got you thinking about true crime as a whole, and kind of as a consumer, what that means and like the weight behind that. Everyone kind of condemns this man. They don't really condemn Stevie all that much because they get it. She was just a pawn that he was using, and she didn't know anything, and she genuinely cared. So she was trying to find out about this case and how to solve it. A lot goes down. Okay, a lot happens within that. And I'm gonna let you read it to find out what I mean, but like there was a lot. I was scared For my life, for my little son. Yes, one of her friends is my son. And we're just gonna keep it there. So now on to The Last Apothecary, where we are following 3 women, 1 in the present, 2 in the past, and the 2 in the past actually get entangled up with each other because one is the face for the client that is asking for help from this woman who knows a little bit about herbs that can do harm. Yeah, so her mother built this apothecary shop and it was meant only to be good. And then life took her and jaded the daughter in a way that got her into a situation that made her start to use some medicinal herbs to now hurt. And yeah, so that is one of the women, the daughter, who is now grown and by herself now, and a little girl who is the face of a new client. And their story now is intertwined after their first meeting. The woman present day is going to London, which, can I just say, I'm loving all of the London settings that I am getting because I really need to go back to London. I truly felt like I left a piece of my heart there and I know I'm gonna return to it. I mean, I leave a piece of my heart everywhere I go, but like London, we're going back. So this woman is going to London for an anniversary trip and she's alone. Go girl, I'm with you. Yeah, she wasn't gonna waste it. And so she decides she's gonna do something that her husband would have never chosen to do because she doesn't want to do anything that they planned, even though a lot of the things that they planned were very famous tourist attractions, which I'm kind of upset about because I'm like, girl, I've been to some of those places. They were the bomb. Definitely highly recommend. Go back. Do your little travel thing. Well, anyway, she does this one particular thing. I'm gonna have to go back into an old video, and this is what she does. Mudlarking.
According to Google, mudlarking is the activity of searching the mud near rivers to find valuable or interesting objects.
And she finds a little bottle, right? As she's there doing that thing that I'm forgetting the name of, she finds a bottle with a logo, an interesting one. And now the man, who is quite versed in history and historical artifacts and things, is very much like, I don't recognize that. So he refers her to someone who may know something about it, and it is his daughter. And they meet at the library and have a fast friendship blooming, and they are determined to solve this mystery of where this logo actually came from. And we are getting the side story of the 2 women, and we know where the logo now comes from and kind of the dark history behind this logo that was never supposed to be as dark as it was. And so, yes, I greatly enjoyed this book, and I just had such a good time. A total reread for the new year, by the way. And the reason I wanted to bring both of these 2 up on screen at the same time is because I love them for the exact same reasoning. The formatting of the book, for one. That's 2. The formatting of the book, for one. The just amazing bouncing back and forth in timeline. Just absolutely fantastic. So seamless, so amazing. The details that are in this book, there is no detail, not a singular detail that is not needed for either one of these books. These authors do not waste words. They do not waste their breath on anything that isn't a part of the story. It's so good. And what I love about the Truly Devious book is we get such a good conclusionary element with the possibility for more. It's just, you have to, all authors should follow this method if there's going to be another book within the series. I think it's just And then with The Lost Apothecary, we get kind of a open-ended ending. Can I say this without spoiling it? I'm gonna say it because this is too good. This is just too good of an element. Basically, this book as a whole, our main character never figures out the mystery, the true mystery behind the two women of the past that she is unknowingly following their story. But it doesn't matter. It's very open-ended. It doesn't matter though, because it is the conclusion. It is the perfect conclusion. It is the only conclusion to a book like this, and I absolutely freaking love it. And you have to read it to know what I'm talking about, or it doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but like if you read the book, it makes sense. It makes all of the sense in the world. Yes. So those are the reasonings. Plus also, it's just a fun time. One in my favorite genre, one in a new to me genre that I never would have thought I would liked. Historical fiction? Are you kidding? I never would have thought that. So yeah, this is so good. I mean, you gotta read it. Honestly, you just gotta read all of these books. These books are just like, yes, those are my favorite books of 2024. There is one to top them all. One book to rule them all. And we'll talk about that in another video. But thank you so much for spending this time with me. It was a long time this time. I know. At least it's not the hour-long plus vlogs. Don't worry, those may be coming. I'm not gonna promise them. I'm gonna say maybe coming. It really just does depend on what I decide to do with that. I am reading books as I am talking to you guys about like all of the end of year stuff. I am reading books. I need to say that at the end of this video. I am reading books. I will be coming to you guys with those books, whether that be here at Bookmas or whether that be in the new year. That's up to time. Time will tell all. And thank you guys for being the best bookish bestie that ever was, is, or ever will be. And I will be seeing you guys on the next video. All of my socials, by the way, will be linked in the description box down below. If you would like to join our little community here, feel free to do so. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.